Okay, today I wanted to talk about how to do a few of the things in Excel that you need to do in order to make some graphs, especially these graphs that we're going to do for the integrated rate laws. So first of all, I have entered some data here. This is kind of a hypothetical situation. This is the one I actually did in class, but I wanted to video it in case you were working on it and you're like, I can't remember exactly how to do one of the things that he showed us. So I decided to video it so you could go back over it and look at it if you need to. So what I have done is I've entered a series of times and a series of concentrations for C4H6, and you can see those concentrations are changing with time. Of course they would. And we're going to graph this in a couple of different ways to determine if it's a first order or second order rate law. So the first thing we want to do is I have the time versus the straight up concentration. I can go ahead and graph that, let you take a look at it. And you do that, you select everything here, then go up here to the top and hit insert. And I usually pick something like this. And this is a nice way of looking at it or representing it. And you can see that this is not a linear relationship. So since it's not a linear relationship, we know that that this is not going to work. This is not. If it were a linear relationship, then this would be like a zero order, and most reactions are not zero order. So let's go ahead and try to see what it looks like when we graph time versus the logarithm of the concentration. So in order to do that, go up here and type equals. That tells Excel that you're working with a formula of some sort. Type in ln, and you'll see it says return the natural logarithm of a number. So we'll put parentheses, and then you can either type A2 or you can go over here and click A2 and hit enter. And of course that was actually a mistake. I was not supposed to do A2, I was supposed to do B2. So let's try that again. Equals logarithm B2. Hit enter. Okay, that looks better. You can't take a logarithm of 0. That's an error. Okay, now once you have that, there's a couple of ways you can quickly copy this down. You can either just copy and paste using Control-C, Control-V, or you can grab this little box here and just drag it down, and you'll see it automatically drags it down for you. All right, so let's graph this versus time, and the way to do that is you select your time data, hit Control, and while you're holding Control, select your logarithm of your concentration, and then you can go through the same process. Insert, chart, and let's try this one. Okay, so you see this one, you're thinking, oh yeah, that's pretty linear. Well, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's best to go ahead and check out the other way to make sure, because this is not completely, I can tell this is not completely linear. So let's check out one more thing before we make our final decision. So here we want to graph 1 over the concentration, and so if this turns out to be linear, then it will be a second order rate law. So equals tells me I'm using a formula, just 1 divided by, and in this case I'm going to go back to B2, and then I want to drag that down again. Okay, so now let's do the same thing. Let's take time, select all your time values, hit Control, and then select all of your 1 over concentration values, and do insert, chart. Okay, so now this time, instead of getting a negative slope, you're going to get a positive slope. And if you look at this, it's pretty clear this is a nice linear relationship. So go ahead and do add right click. I'm sorry, I should have clarified that. Right click, add trend line, and you'll notice that linear is already selected. It is a linear relationship. So we can scroll down here to the bottom, and we can display equation on chart, display R squared value, and if you look up here, you'll notice that this intercept is 99.368. in all actuality, you have this data point. Your time at 0 is actually 100. So if you wanted to, you could actually set your intercept, force it to be 100 because you know that's the actual value. And it doesn't really change anything much, except it kind of cleans up your formula because you know that at time equals 0, your value was exactly 100. So it just kind of cleans up your graph or your equation a little bit. Okay, so I can go back if you want. You can add a trend line to this as well, and you can see that it's not a terrible relationship, but it's not as good as my 1 over relationship. So of course this is going to be a second order reaction, and if you want to make this chart nice so you can upload it to or upload it to your Word document for your lab report, there's a couple things you should do. You should change your title. If you want to add, and you should actually add labels on your axes. So like this left axis over here is actually your 1 over your concentration. So you should go up here. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can click here and you can get some axis options over here, but one of the easiest things to do is I just go up here to this little light bulb and hit axis, and when I start typing that, you'll see add chart element, axis title, and I can put the primary horizontal. I can do the same thing again, add chart element, axis title, primary vertical, and you can see I've got both of my titles now, and now I can just edit those. You can just go up here. For the left, this was actually 1 over concentration, so you could do 1 over concentration C4H6, close that bracket, and if you wanted to make it more professional looking, I'm not sure you can actually do this for an axis label, but you can leave it like this. Okay, hit enter, and there you have it. You can do the same thing down here. In this particular case, it is time, in parentheses, time in seconds. So, okay, so now you have your axes label. You can also do your chart title, and it's just going to be 1 over concentration of C4H6 versus time. Oops. Yeah, versus time. So now I've got everything labeled nicely. You can increase the size. You can play around with the formatting of it some if you want, but that just gets you the basics and get you started. So you can make something that's a nice looking graph. Okay, and as usual, if you have any questions, just let me know.